Getting laid off was single-handedly the best thing that ever happened to me. Just to give you a little backstory of how all my toxic jobs have been, let's start from the beginning right after college. I was desperate to get any job that was going to help me build experience to be a clinical lab scientist. I thought that this was the only route, the only thing I could do with my biology degree. So starting off at a water testing lab where they worked me 6 days a week, I actually had to drive all over the Bay Area to pick up samples, process it the same day, and that would be on the weekends, but during the week we had couriers, but the couriers could be as late as 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. We might actually even had to stay overtime to do that. All the while even having a little bit of a sexual harassment report that I had to do towards the end of my time working there. To really put the cherry on top, the lab was in the same room as the break room. So you had the break room here and then the lab like right here. So anytime we were working with wastewater, you could still warm up your lunch and sit there and enjoy it. So especially after the whole sexual harassment report, that's when I was just like, what am I doing here? Clearly I'm not happy. I was living paycheck to paycheck. One whole paycheck was to pay my rent. The second paycheck was to pay my car payment. So that really left me with like $200 groceries or for any extra needed things. But after utilities, it pretty much came down to like saving $50 a week. As you can imagine, I was done and I basically put in my 2 weeks without the security of finding a new job. But luckily the day after I put in my 2 weeks, I had gotten a job offer for another place, which was really great in the beginning. The work-life balance was pretty good compared to most lab jobs. But then suddenly the workload started doubling. The coworkers who were not toxic at this time got promoted, so now they were also given more responsibilities, more things to do. So now they were actually micromanaging me, and on top of that, these toxic coworkers, they found out about my Instagram page when I had just started out making content and all that. And thanks to the whole Instagram feature of, add people you may know, they found me and they started seeing that clearly I was doing nothing that had to do with science, lab. They saw that clearly I wanted to go a different route. So just little by little, I would get made fun of here and there. For example, I had a coworker who was like, teach me how to do like a push-up. So then I would help that coworker, and they ended up just making fun of me and being like, oh, look at me. I posted a video of me squatting on my story. They would basically come up to me and be like, you literally look like you're taking a shit or something. And it was just a really weird environment for me to be in, because obviously, because they're coming off as a joke, there's not a lot that I could really report to. But once the micromanaging started happening, I got called into HR like 2 times, with the last time being a warning, and basically saying that I need to stop defying upper management and all this stuff, when really I just wanted to be able to take a bathroom break without being timed when I came out to let me know that it was more than like 5 minutes. Or I specifically remember I went outside to take a call, and you know how you're entitled to 15-minute breaks. This coworker timed me and said, you've been out for 17 minutes. And I'm like, I didn't know, when did we start getting time for this? Like, you can imagine at this point the environment. So I had just learned my lesson. I always had headphones in my ears just so I never had to talk to anybody. But by miracle, these coworkers ended up leaving the company because they just weren't getting paid enough for their experience. Like the typical like corporate ladder, like once you get experience, you should be applying to other places. You're not meant to stay in the same place for that long. The upside to that job though, I was getting a lot of experience that I could use on my resume that would build up to apply for the CLS program. But man, I was so unhappy. At this point, I would say I was at the lowest point in my life, like rock bottom, feeling like, why does it feel like in order to start making money, it needs to be miserable? So a little along the way, I was obviously listening to like podcasts that would help me. And one of the ones that helped me realize that something needs to change was Miss Jasmine Shah's podcast. I'll even like link the episode that I think really actually did it for me to change. At the time, she was a life coach. She still is certified, but she's no longer taking clients. But I forgot what exactly she had said in her podcast that made me just really think, I need to make a change. So then I made my first big investment ever to work with her. And she basically, throughout the whole duration of me trying to figure out what it is that I need to do, she had asked like, okay, what is it that you enjoy doing? What is your hobby? And I told her what it was. I told her it was like working out. It's, finding, clean recipes to eat, educated specifically on women's health. And she basically told me like, okay, what if like you could get paid for that? And I was like, what do you mean I could get paid for that? And she introduced me to the whole world of coaching. And I had no idea that this world really existed, because I'm so used to the mindset of like, you go to school, you get a degree, you apply to jobs that relevant to this degree. Like, this was so out of my scope of an opportunity that I thought could happen. Based on everything I had seen throughout my life, I just really figured that you need to be miserable and you need to be constantly climbing a corporate ladder in order to be where you want to be when it comes to either your job, career, or the money amount that you want to make. One of the things that I had worked with Jasmine when it came to rewiring my brain was this affirmation that just changed everything for me, and also to this day I still keep in mind. And that was, if it's possible for them, it is 100% possible for you too. And I apply this to everything now. Whenever I see someone, living my dream, or they're traveling while making passive income, whatever it is, they obviously, it's not like anybody else is more special than me. It's not like they had greater favor on them. They clearly put in the work at some point in order to enjoy the fruits of their labor. And I just knew that like, okay, if they could do it, what makes it impossible for me to not do it? So all the while I'm hiring all these business mentors, life coaches, investing. I think I had invested at least in total 15,000 in business coaches and mentors, and then maybe another 5,000 in certification. All the while I felt like at this point I had the knowledge and tools to now really take off in what I wanted to do. But obviously, like, I'm scared, like, to quit a job that is giving you a stable income, where you have benefits, where you don't have to worry. I did not have this in plan for me to do. So now summer of 2023 comes. This is when the company that I was with at the time was doing their first round of layoffs. So now this is giving like an insight of like, okay, this is the first round, meaning it's gonna happen again. So I really needed to like double down, figure out some sort of plan. At the time I didn't know it was called a business plan, but to set yourself up for tiny goals of what you could do each month, each quarter, to get you closer to the goal. For me, because I was just in fear of being laid off, I had just made it apparent that it's like, okay, no matter how tired I am, no matter what's happening in my life, I need to just make sure I'm pushing out content. Make sure to post every single day. And it did pay off. Towards the end, like I would say like November 2023, we were just so understaffed. Like, I was being overworked so hard to the point where I would just come home feeling exhausted. The weekend would come and I had no interest to do anything outside of just wanting to be in bed all day. I would dread Sundays because I just knew the workload that was gonna come, and I just went into like depression for a bit. And it was probably one of the most, I wouldn't say it was rock bottom, but it definitely felt near that. Luckily at this point too, we had hired some more people, and they were really, really good workers. And to this day, I'm still really close with two of them. It made the workday better in the sense that it made it easier to get out of bed, to get to work, because it's like, at least we're all miserable together working at the same job. While all of this is happening, December of 2023 comes, and one of my reels popped off to like 2 million views. And it was something that I had spent like maybe a minute on. It was just mind blown by how much traction it was getting, because from that single reel, I had gotten 88,000 followers. It's actually dropped down now to closer to 80,000, maybe even 70,000 at this point once you see this video. But it was just showing me like, hey, this is your sign. This is God, the universe saying, this is your opportunity. Quit your job. Obviously, I'm still terrified. Like, I'm not just gonna quit my job and take this risk to just see what these 80,000 followers could do for me. I obviously was still terrified, but I just still kept working really, really hard behind the scenes. I was setting up ways to now work with one-on-one clients again, different offers I could provide. Like right now, I'm gonna be launching a membership that I'm working on. So all these like opportunities were now coming to vision. I'd never felt so confident in my abilities now to take off, because I had the tools, I had the knowledge, I had the resources to really make this work, but still terrified because there's no one in my family or in my background that has done something like this. Mentor me and be like, hey, just do this because you can get access to this. Do that because then you don't have to worry about this. And it was just like, honestly felt way too good to be true at this point. But January comes and I was laid off. And let me tell you, when I was called in to speak with HR, how relieved and happy I was to be told, hey, the company's shutting down. Unfortunately, we can't offer you to keep you, blah, blah, blah. Trying to be empathetic and stuff. But I just remember sitting there just like relaxed. And in my head, I was smiling ear to ear because it was like, wow, what a relief to finally be out of this job that was so much like ruining my mental health, that was so much making me feel trapped that I had to stay here. And it was almost like the universe, God was just like, this is your ticket now, go full force to what you want. And in full transparency, I was still stressed because it's like, obviously there's no stable income coming anymore. I'm gonna have to worry about bills, my rent, but luckily I've had the knowledge of how to save money. So for like the last like 5 years, I had already been slowly saving money, doing what I had to do. So that helped me kind of get by now to where I am. It took like 3 weeks to really calm down and tell myself, hey, you're gonna be fine. You have all these systems set in place. It's just a matter of taking action at this point. It's just a matter of putting yourself out there, putting in the time and the work. You're gonna be fine. It's like, cool, fine. So then with my severance, or part of my severance, I had used it to hire one more coach who would help me in the marketing side, just to help me really niche down, really help me figure out what is it that I wanna help women do. And after like a couple of weeks, ended up working out because now I was getting like a huge influx of like one-on-one applications. I once again felt a little confused on direction. I felt like I was looking left and right without trying to figure out what was in front of me first to take care of. It was a matter of just sitting down with myself and being like, here's your to-do list. What is at the priority right now? What is not? And I just felt like through this whole process, I was able to now calm down. I was coming to terms with like a more peaceful mental health. And I just never realized how much my body was on fight or flight mode to what felt like to survive. But now that I can like slow down, I want to work 40 hours a week, I can. If I want to work 20 hours a week, I still can. Like, it feels like the opportunities are endless, but I think the main thing that I have been missing throughout this was just having confidence in myself to just trust the process. Because at the end of the day, let's say things didn't work out. My worst case scenario is I could always have moved back home with my parents because they still have a home. They're really close by to me. So it's not like I had the fear of being homeless or anything. It was just the fact that I didn't have the faith to finally take the chance and just go full force with it. Because a lot of the times, like, you might say you want to do something, and then what ends up happening is that it doesn't happen. And then you kind of think back and wonder, if I had taken the time to do it, would I have been able to do it? Or you just end up wondering how things could have been. So whether you're in the same situation as me, where you want to do something completely different out of your comfort zone, out of the thing that you thought you were supposed to do, I think the best advice I can give in this is look for the signs. Look for all the small, what you think are coincidences, but are not. Because what are the chances that I was able to pop off on my social media, get all these brand deals right before I got laid off, like exactly 3 or 4 weeks before I got laid off? Like, the chances of that, I don't think that's coincidence at all. I think that was my opportunity to go full force and not look back. And I did that. And while I'm not where I want to be, I can definitely say it's been a journey of like eye-opening, knowing that I can do this. And if I just put in the work for a straight couple weeks, everything will fall to place. And that, yes, be worried, be nervous, it's normal, but still have faith in the process too. That's the story of why getting laid off was the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you next time.